Logistics.
There, it's going up. Hey, everybody, welcome to SUSTAINIACS. I am Michael Vincent. I found another SUSTAINIAC out there. His name is Keith Bearden, and he's CEO, board member, private equity, operating partner, executive coach. He does all these cool things. I found him on LinkedIn searching for cool people, and I found this company called Alter Eco, which I had to reach out and find who the heck is responsible for this craziness. He's CEO of Alter Eco. What's going on, Keith? Thanks for coming on the show, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. So yeah, Alter Eco is an interesting company. You know, we're predominantly a chocolate company, but our name doesn't,
all right. Look, jackpot.
Our name doesn't say chocolate. You know, it's really.
So you never went to marketing class either.
No. Nope. You know, the company was founded a little over 20 years ago. And we're the number 3 chocolate in the natural channel, so you can find us all over the natural market. You know,
what does that mean? I got to find you in Whole Foods and that type of place.
Sprouts, natural grocers, all those places. But we've got pretty good penetration into the conventional retailers, if you will.
Yeah,
mostly regional. So we're in Harris Teeter down in the southeast. We're in Wegmans. We're in Ralph's, Raley's, Air One out in California, Jimbo's, several Albertsons divisions. And that's our growth trajectory, is into more of the conventional retailers.
Yeah, I would think so, right? I mean, you find a lot of people, a lot of people want your product, but they also don't shop in a lot of places because they have a perception that it's a bit on the upper scale.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so we're making a pretty strong push to get into the Krogers and the Myers and the HEBs of the world, you know. But Alter Eco, the name comes from the foundation of the company. So the company has 3 core principles that we believe in, and those haven't changed since day one. Yeah. The first one is to restore ecosystems. So we try to source as much of our raw materials as humanly possible from regenerative farms, or we actually, in the cacao world, we actually call it dynamic agroforestry, because it's not like a grain or, you know, a crop where you're clear cutting and you plant rice or beans or corn. And then when you harvest that, to be regenerative, you're going to put something back on as a cover crop to help restore the soil, put nitrogen back in, like with clover or something, you know.
Right.
Cacao plants aren't annual. They're perennial. They grow for 50, 60, 70 years. And so the way you make that regenerative, so to speak, is to recreate the ecosystem that existed naturally around it. And that may be plantain trees or banana trees or coconut trees.
So in other words, you're maintaining the environment around it that would occur naturally if you weren't there with machines farming the hell out of it, right?
Exactly.
To put it in my own really astute terms, and I'm really
and if you've gone in and clear cut and planted cacao plantations, which a lot of people had, you know, decades ago, we're helping those farmers make that transition by actually taking some cacao plants out and putting other things in around them. And that does a number of things. So in times of extreme drought, a coconut tree or plantain tree is much taller, has bigger leaves, provides some shade for the cacao plants, plus the roots are much deeper, so they pull up more groundwater and help to nourish the cacao plants. Plus the leaves create organic matter and restore the soil health.
So you call the herd, so to speak, and introduce other vegetation depending on how the cycles of the weather are moving?
Exactly.
Wow. Do you run your own farms, or the cacao plantations?
No. We buy from about 16,000 farmers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mostly scattered across Ecuador and Dominican Republic.
Why have I grown up my entire life calling it a cocoa plant?
Well, so there's 2 different aspects to it. So as the plant and in its raw form, It's
Yeah.
cacao, Cacao, cacao.
Okay.
Once it's harvested and processed, you turn it into cocoa, cocoa powder, cocoa butter. That's post processing. Cocoa
Okay.
beans that have been roasted, you know.
So post
So
processing, you lose the A's and you go to cocoa.
right.
I catch you. All right. All right. That's cool. I just thought it was like the new way to say it. It's like, I've always, when I was in school in geography, it was Chile. Now it's Chile.
Yeah,
So
right, right.
there's, I thought maybe it was one of those things. I
No.
got you. So, I've read a bunch of articles. I mean, I read and I'm just inquisitive that way. I've got that natural curiosity, which is why I do the show, to meet really cool people like you and discover for everybody else what you guys are doing. But like big names like Nestle, et cetera, didn't Nestle like last year invest like $500 million in the growers of the cacao plants
Mm-hmm.
to improve their like livelihood, et cetera, and there's some big names and stuff like that are doing the right thing, right?
Well, there are. Well, I tell you, what's happened with cacao has been crazy over the past 18 to 24 months. So, 60% of the world's cacao comes from Western Africa,
Right.
Ghana, Ivory Coast. You've got some
Right.
growers in Madagascar and places like that, but those regions were mostly plantations. And when I say plantations, clear cut plantations, cacao plants planted, just thousands and thousands of acres of them.
And from what I understand, the labor wasn't treated a whole much better than what you would consider in a plantation, right? I mean, there was some
This
labor
is
issue.
this is absolutely correct. There was a lot of
Right.
slave labor, there was a lot of child labor,
Yeah.
and so that's always been one of the issues of the farming in those regions. But what happened about 24 months ago is the harvest didn't produce the way it had been for decades. And when I
Really?
say didn't produce, the African regions were down almost 30% in the 23-24 harvest period. They harvest, their harvest starts in like September, October, runs through the winter months, because our winter months, their summer months, because they're in
Yeah.
Southern Hemisphere. And that 30% decline in harvest resulted in almost a 20% decline in the total world volume. And when that
Wow.
happened, prices skyrocketed. So in December of 2023, you could buy cacao beans for about $3,500 a metric ton.
Okay.
December of 23.
Is that FOB or delivered?
That's FOB. But in April of 24, a mere 4 months later, they went to $13,000 a ton.
Wow. And what was the last straw in the environment that caused that to happen? Because I mean, it's like decades of
Yeah.
farming, and then in 1 year, just said, you know what, forget it. We're not It just doesn't produce. What
Well,
did it finally hit a tipping point or something? Or?
yeah, it did. I mean, we talk about climate change, and it used to be called global warming. Now it's just called climate change because yes, the world's getting warmer, but what we're seeing is you've got so many more extremes. So you've got extreme periods of drought, and then you've
Yeah.
got extreme periods of rain. I mean, it may rain for 4 months in some of these regions.
Yeah. Trust me, we're seeing it in Texas and New Mexico and stuff
Yeah,
like that right
exactly.
now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And neither one of those are good for these types of plants. And
Yeah.
so too much rain starts to cause mold and
Mm,
diseases. Too much drought,
yeah.
they don't produce. And so it's just been this combination and culmination of things. And then when the shortage started to happen, you can imagine with any commodity vehicle, which cacao is a commodity, all the speculators jumped in the market.
Yeah. Futures went through the roof. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. And it hasn't come back down.
But is that because they don't see enough effort, or is the story
They
not being told enough for them to
It's a
understand?
combination of things. The yields still haven't picked back up. The
Okay, so it's a
24
reality thing, because a lot of times the markets react and stay there just because the sentiment doesn't change because the story's
Right,
not told well enough.
right.
But in this case, yields haven't resumed or rebounded.
They rebounded some in 24-25 harvest,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
saw prices come back down around 9 or 10,000, and then it's a commodity. I mean, it can shift $1,000 in one day. It'll drop from 9,000 to
for
2,000
sure.
and bounce right back up. And most of the companies like Alter Eco and Nestle and Hershey's, and none of us pay spot prices. We negotiate pricing on an annualized basis, and we pre-finance our farmers and things of that nature. But it's still, I mean, you're seeing.
Well, you use the instruments for hedging,
We
or you don't need to.
No, we
you got contracted.
We have contracts with our farmers that are renegotiated on an annual basis. I mean, they have to.
So you don't have to hedge. You've got it locked in anyway.
Yeah, we can't expect them to sell to us cheaper than they can sell on the open market, but yet they want to remain connected to us. All of our products are organic. They're Fair for Life certified. They're non-GMO. And these farmers know.
Does that have? Now, tell me the truth. Don't lie to me, okay? No, I'm just kidding.
Never.
I hate that statement. Now, tell me the truth, or if I'm being honest, but no. Does that have anything to do with it? You always see these arguments, right? Organic, not organic, and stuff like that. There's even arguments like out in California that the non-organic or the organic farms are actually cause more use of pesticides and more use of things because they're bordering others, and the diseases and things that might happen bleed over and stuff like that. There's all kinds of crazy arguments both ways. Does that have anything to do with the yield, the adoption of those methods? And is it just a lull that we have to learn better? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you have to. Is it sausage? Are we watching sausage being made where we come out the other side and we just got a better, more sustainable product, but we go through a period of maybe some disruption a little bit type of thing, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah. I mean, in our world, most of our farmers have been organic from day one because, number one, they can't afford to go out and buy herbicides and pesticides.
Yeah, they're not big corporate farms, right?
Exactly. Okay. But if you look in the California Valley, and Central Valley and regions like that, there is a big issue with organic farms being beside non-organic farms because you've got drift, you've got a lot of the organic pests, if you will, like ladybugs and things of that nature that eat aphids and whatnot that actually help protect the crops. They go over into the conventional farms, and there's not because they're farming with pesticides and herbicides, they don't have the raw materials. They don't have the food supply because they've killed all the aphids with the pesticides. So then they start eating the plants. And so
right. This is what I'm talking about. There's these unintended consequences that are happening because they're side by side, right?
Exactly. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think most people would prefer a product that's raised or harvested without chemical pesticides or chemical herbicides.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have the other sides that say, no, you got to use them. Otherwise half the world will die of starvation and all this other kind of stuff. There's arguments on both sides. I agree with you. I think the majority of the people would say, look, if everybody could be good and stuff, then why have the pesticides? But it's a necessary evil. Is there anything to that argument?
Well, at the end of the day, feeding the world is not about volume. It's about distribution.
It's about logistics, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We can't get the food to the people that need it the most. I mean, we fought this for decades, if not centuries, in Africa because they can't get the food to these people.
Well, I've met a lot of people, and I have friends that do a lot of mission work in South Africa, building schools, education on farming, and that type of stuff, and a lot of religious, evangelizing the Word of God, that type of stuff as well, mission work that people might think of as what mission means, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. There's a lot of other work, and the idea that it is an incredibly ripe blue ocean of opportunity for infrastructure investment. Just keeps resonating and resonating, because that's half the issue. You can get anything to move from one place to the other.
Absolutely. It's infrastructure. It is education and training.
Sure.
But I mean, it's availability of water. It's availability of proper storage mechanisms once the food's grown and harvested. Then it's a matter of distribution to the people. I mean, we're spoiled in the United States. I mean, you can go 2 minutes down the road and get almost anything you want. We have a distribution network. I lived in Europe for almost 12 years. You have a distribution network in those countries. The areas of starvation and suffering in the world isn't caused by lack of availability of food. We grow enough food to feed the world. Food waste is a big issue, especially in the United States. About 30%
for sure.
of what we produce goes to waste.
Yeah, but that's a different. In my mind, the causation of that is different than in like Africa. It's like there's not enough. There's plenty of people who eat it. You just can't get it to them.
Exactly.
In the United States, it just goes to waste because people are like, I'm full.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. So how do you guys source just from the farms that do these practices? How is it that you guys are supporting that? You talked about how you support it in your farms and that type of stuff, but you don't operate those farms, right? So how's that interaction look? Do you investigate them? Is there, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's a combination of things. All of our chocolates are manufactured in Switzerland. So we have a fantastic manufacturing partner in Switzerland.
Why are the Swiss so good at manufacturing chocolate?
They've been making chocolate for 450 years.
Yeah, but why is it? The Mexicans were doing it before that.
Yeah, no, you're right.
but Mexico City is not the chocolate capital of the world.
Switzerland is. Switzerland and Belgium.
And last I checked, the Swiss did not invade Mexico and steal their chocolate secrets.
No.
At least I missed that class in history.
Yeah, no. They've just continued to perfect it, and it's like anything. You build a body of knowledge, and it just continues to propagate. And so some of the best Swiss manufacturers are within 10, 15 miles of one another. And you develop this skill set of, master chocolatiers, and these guys are good at it. They know what they're doing.
Do they have nefarious characters like what was his name in Charlie in Slugworth?
Willy Wonka?
Yeah, like Slugworth. Did they have like industrial spies?
Probably. But the methodology is really the same everywhere. It's just, they've perfected the art of chocolate manufacturing, and most of the bigger players there go from bean to the finished product, so bean to bar, so to speak. And that has a lot to do with how the quality is, because they control every step of the process once they get their hands on the dried beans. So the farmers harvest the beans, they go through a fermentation process. And so when they come out of the pod, they've got this little slimy coating on the beans, and it's actually really tasty. It's very, very sweet. And that's what causes the fermentation. So you put them in these big, huge boxes.
Okay. So it's got a sugar that
eats itself, a natural sugar, and it ferments the beans. And then they lay them out and dry them. And then that's when they bring them to the manufacturer. So we bring the dried beans from Latin America to Switzerland. And then beans get roasted just like coffee beans do, a specific time, temperature, pressure, roasting process. And then once the beans are roasted, the only thing we want from a chocolate perspective is what they call the nib inside, the cocoa nib. So you crack that bean open and take the nib out. And then it goes into the production process, which the first step is a step called conching. And it's really, think about a grist mill. You're taking grain and you're grinding it and making a paste or a flour out of it. Well, cocoa nibs have liquid in them. They have a water content. And so when you're grinding them, you create a paste. Okay. And so you're creating this paste. And the longer you conch it, these conches are huge. They're 5,000, 10,000 gallon vats. And they've got these blades that spin, and they're open air because Cocoa nibs are very bitter. And a lot of what's bitter about it is the aroma, the acidity and the aroma. So you, as you're conching it, this aroma is escaping the top of these conches. And the longer you conch it, the more of that bitterness you get out of it. So
I got you.
We have a bar called Total Blackout. It's 100% cacao, and you can actually eat it. It doesn't taste bitter. It doesn't taste like baking chocolate. It's very smooth. It's our
Yeah, I
number.
remember the first time I stole some of my mom's baking chocolate. I was severely disappointed. It was awful.
Yeah. Our Total Blackout's actually our number one seller.
Really? And it's not even, is it considered cocoa or it's just straight cacao?
It's cocoa at that point because it's been processed, and it's got a little bit of sugar in it, but it's 100% cocoa beans. That we don't put any other cocoa butter or milk fat or anything like that in it. It's just pure cocoa.
Just pure, straight up cocoa. So is it like a dark? It's dark, I would imagine.
Very dark.
It's very dark. Very dark.
We only produce dark chocolates. We don't.
What do they do with the shells? Did the shells become anything? Is that a sustainable product somehow?
Yeah.
They use the fibers from it or anything?
Well, they go in a number of different places. They go into feeds because they're edible, and they go into a different.
Oh, so it's not like a pecan shell or pistachio.
No, it's not hard like that. And after it's been roasted, it's pretty pliable. I mean, people eat, like you can go to Starbucks and buy espresso, chocolate covered espresso beans.
Oh yeah, I love those. Those are
okay.
Fantastic.
So the shell's kind of like an espresso bean after it's been roasted.
Oh, okay.
And,
nice.
But they also
did you have a chocolate covered cacao shell?
You could. It'd be a little bitter because that nib on the inside's pretty strong.
Yeah, okay. It's an acquired taste.
They also go into different food products. So I used to run a tea company, and we had a chocolate tea, and we used the shells after the cocoa roasting, after the bean had been roasted, because you can't use the nib. It would melt in the hot water. It was a hot tea. We used the cocoa shells.
Oh, wow. All right.
They still have flavor to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How interesting. So is there a big difference between the health factors of eating an organic, or is it purely on the production side that you're making positive impacts?
I wouldn't say there's huge health factors in the difference between organic and non-organic. There's big health factors between dark chocolate and milk chocolate.
Huge. Oh, come on, man. Oh, so milk chocolate's actually better for you, right?
No.
Oh, come on, man. I like them. I got to find some. That's it. We're not recording anymore. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you can read about the health benefits of dark chocolate, and they're serious. I mean, it's a healthy.
Well, there's far less fat in it, right? Is that right?
Well, there's far less fat in it. It's it's got some polyphenols in it that are good for you. It's got some antioxidants in it that are good for you. If you want an indulgent treat, eat a dark chocolate. And if you want a really good indulgent
for you,
want a really good indulgent treat, eat an Alter Eco dark chocolate.
There you go. Or Blackout. Is Blackout like even better?
Oh, it's absolutely. From a health perspective, it's the best.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, we make all kinds of. We have 26 or 28 different bars, something like that, different flavor profiles.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay, cool.
We have orange and raspberry and almond and creme brulee. And I mean, we have some very indulgent ones too. We make a creme brulee truffle thin, and then we make truffles. We did have one here to show you, but we make these little bite-sized truffles, and they're absolutely amazing. And
I bet they are.
Back to the three core principles that we live on. I said restoring ecosystems. The second one is improving livelihood. So we pay our farmers a fair for life wage. And then the last one's reducing waste. And so our little truffle wrappers are actually certified backyard compostable.
Oh, backyard compostable.
Backyard, not.
I can go bury them in my. I can go put them in my compost pile.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's cool because a lot of people don't understand that. It says compostable, but you have to.
It's industrial.
It basically has to be handled just like plastic,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Doesn't do anything.
Oh,
It doesn't really do anything for you.
ours are backyard compostable. They're certified
Yeah.
by a group out of Austria called TUV, and so the wrapping is actually called NatureFlex. It's made from corn, and it's in you put it in your compost in about 30-40 days, it's gone.
Wow, but its performance as a wrapper to keep your stuff fresh for a period of
For a
time
year.
is good for a year. So it's still wow. See, because that's the hardest thing. We can make all kinds of things that are compostable and out of recycle, but it's the performance that's just not there. You have to have the
Well,
integrity of the performance of the material, right?
exactly. And to that point, we have a line of granola as well. So we created a line of granola about 4 years ago. Granola has become almost 20% of our sales.
Oh
And
wow.
our granola is no sugar added. We sweeten with monk fruit and dates. And so it's a wonderful product, but we've been looking for compostable packaging for it. And the performance and product integrity just isn't there yet.
Yeah.
Because if we used sugar, it would probably be okay. But fruit tends to go rancid a lot faster than cane sugar would.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Plus the oats, you want the oats to stay crisp and, and
Yeah.
not get kind of soggy and stale and whatnot. And it's getting better. It's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
We're constantly evaluating it. But
Yeah.
we use plastic in our granola, but we use post-consumer recycled plastic. So it's
Yeah.
already
Nice.
been through the process once.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's fantastic because that is I mean, that's a key, and well, you can go down a whole million different rabbit holes with the issues with that, and trying to make that happen,
Yeah.
and that type of stuff, because that's very, very, very difficult to do. Are there nefarious players out there in the cocoa trade or the cacao trade? I guess is it cocoa trade or is it cacao trade? I guess it's
It
cacao
depends
trade,
on
right?
where in the process you're selling it.
Right,
It's
right, right.
hard
Well,
enough.
when is it after the bean arrives and starts to get processed that it becomes cocoa? It's cacao before that, right? Okay.
Yep,
So
exactly.
in the cacao trade, are there nefarious players out there? Are there
Oh
things
yeah,
like people that they look up and they go, "Oh, this is sourced here. I should really not support that." Or
there are, especially throughout Africa, you find that there's some players that are trying to control the market to some degree. Even the government in some of
yeah.
those regions is
Well, sure.
saying,
It's a
"Oh,
huge economy for people, right?
absolutely." And the government is saying we're going to limit the amount of exports that you can do. Therefore, we're going to keep the price up because we get tax collections on that price.
Non-tariff tariff.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Tariffing your own people. It's an export tariff kind of thing. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so they're controlling that to get their prices, but they don't
Well, and
lend
and
to the
there,
place that hey, if you lower the price and you move more, you get actually more money out of the volume,
yeah, yeah. Well,
right? I
but,
mean,
but
I
there's
don't.
also, I mean, we had one of our farmers. They had a shipment coming to us. It was on its way to the port in Ecuador. It was going to Quito and coming out of Quito and going to the port, and the truck got hijacked
Oh wow.
because the volume. It was about 7 tons of product, and it's so expensive these days now. I mean, they hijacked the truck. I mean, that was $10,000 times 7 tons, so 70 grand. That's I mean, based on what these people make down there, 70 grand's more than they'll make in 10 years probably.
Oh wow. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
No,
So how do you fight that? How do you do the living wage? Because you can't just pay them too
no,
much. That's. I
no.
mean, if you give them too much, it screws up the whole ecosystem as well, right?
It does. It does. And so we work with we don't buy from those 16,000 individual farmers. We buy from cooperatives. And so the cooperatives are buying from the farmers. And so we make sure that the farmers have the wages to support their family, to have health care, for their kids to go to school, and then we help contribute into projects for them. We're working with a group of farmers in Dominican Republic right now, and we're providing coconut tree saplings and the education around how to raise coconuts. Because if you think about plantains, bananas, coconuts, avocados, guavas, limes, whatever, that not only helps protect the cacao plants and create this ecosystem, it also gives the farmer another revenue stream. Those are
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
cash crops.
Yeah. You're not just growing some whatever it have some clover that you can't do
Right.
anything with.
Right. It's a
Yeah.
cash crop, you know? And
Yeah.
so we try to help them make that transition to having a another crop that's going to support their livelihood in addition to the cacao.
So where does hemp fall into that? Because I've worked with some people, and I've had people on the show that utilize hemp. There's a company up in the UK that makes uh, insulation materials and stuff like that out of hemp fibers and so on
Yeah.
and so forth. And supposedly it's a fantastic cover crop off season or through rotation and stuff like that, right? Does that fit into that as well, or is that just the climate doesn't work for that type of thing?
No, it doesn't. I mean, hemp is more of a northern
It's
grown
a northern climate, yeah.
cold climate.
Gotcha.
It's more of a grain, like a wheat or a barley you'll see grown. If you go up into
Yeah.
Minnesota and the Dakotas and even into Canada, I mean, our granola is actually manufactured in Canada, and
Okay.
90% of the oats come from Canada. Those types of grains grow better in that cold climate.
Yeah. So that's you gotta look for those different types of things.
Yeah. Well, and like you mentioned tariffs earlier, and I don't want to get into a political discussion, but tariffing things like cacao beans, we can't physically grow them in the US. We don't have the climate.
Yeah, right. That's right. It can't be.
It can't be done.
It's a great point. It's a great point. I mean, hopefully that's not someone's desk.
I think Hershey's is pushing pretty hard for somebody to run.
Well, I was going to say there's some players that probably have a lobbyist or two that are knocking
I
on
think
doors, going, "Hey guys, hello."
I think the CEO of Hershey's came out and said, even at 10%, this is going to cost us about $200 million.
Well, because they're big, they're huge. I mean, if they were half the size, it would only be $100 million. But I mean,
Right.
it's all relative. But 10% is 10%, man, and that's big. It's either going to kill sales or kill profits, one of the two, right?
Yep, exactly.
I mean, you can't keep absorbing that all over the place. And if you're truly looking at how that impacts down the line, maybe you save that by buying your beans from a nefarious player instead of a sustainable one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's theoretically cheaper, right, to buy it from the guy who stole the $70,000 thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. That is crazy. That is crazy. So it is, when I look at these things, it's chocolate. It's just better made for you chocolate,
It
or
is.
better. In a lot of instances, what you're saying is there are health benefits, right? Because the
Yeah,
dark
for
chocolate is
sure.
better and the pure chocolate is better, but your real impact is on the rest of the world and that type of stuff. And it does it.
I
Does
tell
it?
everybody if you buy an Alter Eco bar, you're not only getting the best tasting chocolate on the market, you're improving the planet one chocolate bar at a time.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. So let me ask you this: you're pushing to get into different retail outlets and stuff like that, and it sounds like you're going from like the obvious place to find this to more mainstream type of distribution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is
Right.
is that is there a price prohibitor there, or is it more just, hey, look, this is better for you, it's sustainably sourced, but it's not, you're not paying twice 2x for it.
Yeah, no, you're not. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
2x. I mean, there is a price point difference for sure.
Is that because of the process or because you want to position yourself in a certain way?
Because of the process.
I
I
got you.
mean,
Okay.
we're buying a higher quality bean. We're very
Yeah.
selective on the beans, and so even our farmers that grow for us, there's probably 40%, 50% of the crop we won't buy because it doesn't have the quality that we're looking for. And so,
Wow. So are there bean buyers that go out there and like sniff them and go,
oh
nah,
yeah, well, and our
really?
farmers are trained. Our
Wow.
co-ops are trained. They look at size and they look at the smell and the taste and the structure of the bean. Yeah, I mean they grade them, and it's
Yeah.
not that they can't sell those beans to somebody else, but they can't sell them to us.
Gotcha.
you know.
Gotcha.
And so
Where do you fall in the luxury chocolate? Are you like top scale price wise, or there's got to be
no,
more expensive,
no,
right?
there's
There's some
some.
out there that's insanely expensive, right?
Well, there's so in terms of mass produced premium chocolate,
Yeah.
there's about 5 or 6, 7 players that play in that space like us,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
And we're kind of in the middle of the range in terms of price,
Yeah.
but I will say we do more things the right way than anybody else in that category. And I
Gotcha. So
truly
a
mean
lot of it is marketing.
it is. So
Yeah.
we're
Telling a story that may not necessarily be. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we're B Corp certified, have been
Hmm.
since 2009.
Oh wow. Okay.
We're climate neutral. We're plastic neutral. We're organic. We're Fair for Life certified, which is a step above fair trade even.
Wow.
You know, I mean, we literally do everything the right way, or try to anyway.
Yeah.
And we publish this thing called a regen report every year, which ours just went out a couple weeks ago on our website. And you can
Yeah.
go look at that regen report, and we show everything that we do. We're transparent in everything we do. 75% of our cacao beans in 2024 came from farms that are practicing dynamic agroforestry or regenerative farming. Our goal is
Wow.
100%, and we'll get there, but we're already to 75%, and we're helping those farmers make those conversions.
And do those? Let me ask you: do those conversions? Do they improve the grade of the bean?
They absolutely do.
Yeah, it would seem like they would, but we didn't cover that. So the changing to that methodology may reduce volume, I suppose,
It
maybe,
does
or does
reduce
it do
volume
both?
because it does
Does it?
reduce volume because you're taking plants out. You know, if you imagine if you've got a row of 50 plants, you won't put
Yeah,
trees in around it or vines and things. You got to take some out to make some room. But
gotcha.
but once those other crops come online, number one, you've got the revenue from them, and most
Oh
of
yeah,
them
they're other cash crops, right? Yeah.
exactly, and most of them will mature in 4 to 5 years and start to produce cash. But the beans that are coming out of the cacao plants that are still in that system are much bigger, much better, higher quality. So
So
they're going to
you're improving your OR on the remaining
absolutely,
crop that's there. How are they hand picked? I mean,
yeah.
to climb up on ladders and pick it, put it in a basket, and
Well, the
walk
cacao
on?
plants don't grow very tall,
Oh,
so
okay, I
they're
didn't know
they're
that.
only about 7, 8 feet tall.
Oh, all
And
right.
so they'll have a little stool with them, or they'll just most of the time you can reach the pods because the pods are about
Yeah,
so big and they're heavy, and so they just reach up, and they're really more like there's a tree in the
like a
south.
bean pod.
Yeah, it's a bean pod, but they're
Oh
big,
wow.
and
Yeah,
each
yeah, yeah,
pod
yeah.
has on average about 40 beans in it.
Oh, okay.
And then the pulp inside of that, they use that for feed and things of that nature in Latin America. It doesn't transport. It's a very fleshy, you know,
Yeah,
so it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
transport well. But they use it. They upcycle it, in the farming regions.
How cool. That is very, 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 very cool.
It's pretty fascinating. I mean, some of these farms that we go visit, you'll ride for an hour and a half in a 4-wheel drive truck on things that most of us would not consider roads. And then in some cases, you get on a little train car that has tracks that go back into the jungle and you go for another 45 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, why isn't it more main? Why so far? Just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. These farms have been. I visited one of our farmers, and he was in his mid 60s, and he had inherited the farm from his dad, who was in his 90s, and his dad was still there helping him with it. And and the average size farm in Latin America is 12 acres.
Oh wow, yes, these are small guys.
Yeah, these are
Yeah.
just family farms that these people have grown up with. You know.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. So Latin America's pretty big
They're
cacao
they're
production.
pretty much the other 30%, and then there's 10% in a few regions.
So you got West Africa, Latin America, and then here and there some
a little bit out of Indonesia, or some areas like that. But it's all very, very, very tropical.
Yeah, it's close to the equator.
Right around the equator is where everything
right
goes.
On the equator. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Very, very cool. So you guys make other stuff other than the chocolate, though, but that's your main.
Chocolate right? is about 75% of our sales, and granola.
How did you get into the chocolate? I mean, I'm looking at your background here, and I mean, you went from Austin P to chocolate. but I mean, probably a number of years in between those.
Along the way. Yeah. Now, it's funny. I never intended to be in food and beverage, but my wife and I were living in Portland, Oregon, or just outside of Portland, and I decided to open up my own consulting company, and predominantly helping companies figure out the IT landscape, because my original background is IT.
Yeah. And so I'm looking at here. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and so if you know anything about the Pacific Northwest entrepreneurial landscape, there's tons of small food and beverage manufacturers all over. All over the Pacific Northwest. A lot of them are spin-outs from Starbucks, but you've got others like Dave's Killer Bread is headquartered in Portland. Yogi Tea is there, Stash Tea. You've got a lot of again, spin-outs from Starbucks and other Boyd's Coffees there. Oregon Naturals is there. And so I started this consulting company, and almost all my clients were food and beverage. And it just kind of sucked me into that world. And then the guys at Yogi Tea asked me to take over their international operation and help them grow that business. And so I sold my consulting business and moved to Europe and ran Yogi Tea International for a little over 6 years. And I've been in food and beverage ever since. And the way I got into chocolate was I met one of the partners of a private equity group out of San Francisco that owned Alter Eco. And they asked me to join the board of Alter Eco. And so I was on the board. And then in 2023, the private equity group decided they were going to sell Alter Eco. They had owned it for 7 years. Like most private equity groups, they flipped the asset,
Yep.
And so they decided they were going to sell it. And I believed in the brand so much and what we were doing that I raised my hand and said, I'd like to buy it. And so I met
modern day Willy Wonka.
Yep, exactly. So
that is a fantastic story. I absolutely love it. So is it altereco.com? Should people go there, or should they just go to the store and buy it?
No, we sell online. It's actually alterecofoods.com.
Alterecofoods.com. Gotcha.
You can find us on Amazon. You can find us on our website, and Instacart, almost any place that, you can buy us just about anywhere.
That is fantastic. So are you the ingredients to anybody, or
we're strictly finished goods.
Okay. Gotcha.
We don't do ingredient sales.
Yeah. You don't do that stuff. You are you. I gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Fantastic stuff. Listen, Keith, this has been fantastic. I learned what cocoa is and what cacao is. And I learned that it's just not people trying to be cool saying cacao. It actually is the right word, which makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Because I really hate it when people change the pronunciation of a word. Like, come on, guys. Who are you kidding? It's really kind of silly. But it's fantastic. And listen, everybody, thank you so much for downloading and listening to this episode of the SUSTAINIACS. Check out alterecofoods.com. You just heard the story. It's really good stuff. I got to go get myself some. Yes, sir. I enjoy a good chocolate bar every once in a while. So that's very cool. I appreciate it. He's Keith Bearden. He's the CEO and the owner of the whole joint. So I love it, dude. Bravo. Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much for coming on, my friend. Peace and love, everybody.